Chapter 27, The Interrogation at the High Temple of Nature, Part 1. The chamber of the High Temple of Nature stood in ethereal silence, save for the gentle trickle of the stream that ran along the stone edges of the council chamber. Towering columns of living wood twisted upwards, their bark a deep amber that shimmered in the soft filtered sunlight. Vines, thick with delicate flowers, draped over the natural architecture, infusing the space with a sense of organic grandeur. The air, heavy with the scent of earth and blooming flora, held an unspoken tension. Candice stood at the center of the room, her posture poised yet wary, as the Queen of Elves and her council members surveyed her. She was flanked by Lucas and Mina, who stood in silence, the weight of the moment pressing down on their shoulders. They communicated quietly through their telepathic link, trying to make sense of the proceedings unfolding before them. The Queen of Elves presided over the gathering with her usual regal composure. Her piercing green eyes locked onto Candice with an intensity that spoke of both wisdom and suspicion. The Queen's silver hair cascaded down her back, shimmering like moonlight, a stark contrast to the vibrant greens and browns of the forest that surrounded them. The crown of leaves and jewels upon her brow only added to her air of sovereignty, a reminder of her connection to both the natural world and the fate of the elves. "Candice of the Nethari," the Queen began, her voice rich with authority. "You claim to be traveling through Hilariel on urgent business, yet you refuse to explain the true nature of your mission. This is no simple journey, is it? What is it that brings you to our land?" The soft, yet piercing gaze of the Queen never wavered. Candice remained silent for a moment, weighing her words. Her dark braid fell over her shoulder, and her amber eyes darted briefly to Lucas and Mina, who exchanged silent glances, sensing the rising tension. The question had been asked, but Candice knew her answer would be scrutinized in ways that went far beyond simple diplomacy. "I come on the advice of my mentor, Ceylan," Candice replied, her voice calm, yet careful. "I have been sent to Kingston on an urgent mission. I seek the Children of Hybris, who are tied to a great and mysterious power. My mission is one of protection." The Queen's eyes narrowed, a flicker of recognition passing through them. The term Children of Hybris echoed in the chamber, reverberating with unspoken meaning. Candice could feel the tension shift as the room seemed to hold its breath. She felt exposed, though she showed no outward signs of discomfort. "Kingston," the Queen repeated, her voice low. "The explosion there. We have heard whispers of its destruction, and yet you claim to be ignorant of its cause. Do you truly have no knowledge of the events that transpired?" Candice's heart quickened, but her face remained steady. She had already anticipated this line of questioning, and she had prepared her response. "I have only heard rumors, Your Majesty. I know of the explosion, but its cause remains a mystery to me. My focus lies elsewhere." The Queen leaned forward ever so slightly, her eyes studying Candice with piercing scrutiny. "And what of the prophecy? The Sent Ones? You speak of protecting the Children of Hybris, yet I sense that your mission is more than what you have revealed. There are forces at play here, forces that tie your fate to our own." Her voice grew softer but no less intense. "You have heard of the prophecy of the Sent Ones, yes?" Candice hesitated, her mind racing. She had heard nothing of this prophecy, yet the Queen's words held the weight of ancient truth. She kept her voice steady, though her pulse quickened. "I know nothing of this prophecy," Candice replied, the words carefully chosen. "I am simply a warrior, guided by my mentor's wisdom. My mission is clear, and I seek no further entanglement." The elder elf, who had been silently observing from his position at the council table, finally spoke, his voice slow and deliberate. "You may not be aware of the prophecy, Candice, but your actions speak otherwise. The Children of Hybris you seek are tied to forces far greater than you can understand. Their significance is not lost on us." Candice's heart skipped a beat. The elder elf's words resonated in the air, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. Had she unknowingly walked into a web of ancient power? She quickly steadied her breath, trying to maintain control over the conversation. "I only know what I have been told," she said, her voice tinged with a subtle edge. "I am not here to interfere with your land's affairs, nor am I interested in the politics of prophecy. I only wish to find the Children of Hybris and protect them from those who would see them harmed." The Queen of Elves watched Candice closely, as if weighing her every word. And what if the Empire seeks them as well? What if their true purpose lies in the hands of forces that seek to control the very fate of this world? Candice's breath caught in her throat. The Queen's words echoed a fear she had not fully considered. The possibility that her mission, driven by a sense of duty, was unknowingly tied to something much darker. She did not respond immediately, her mind racing as she considered the implications of the Queen's questions. The soft yet powerful elf then spoke, his voice gentle but laced with a quiet power. "It is clear that there are many truths you are not sharing, Candice, and yet I sense a deeper connection between you and the Children of Hybris, one that perhaps even you do not fully understand." He leaned forward, his gaze soft but probing. "You are not simply an outsider in our midst. There is more to you than meets the eye." Candice clenched her fists, her mind whirling. She had been trained to withstand pressure, to keep secrets, but the eyes of the council bore down on her with an intensity she had not anticipated. Lucas and Mina, silent observers, exchanged another uneasy glance. They could feel the weight of the questions that Candice was being forced to answer, the hidden truths that she seemed reluctant to reveal. Finally, Candice spoke, her voice steady but firm. "I may not have all the answers, but I know that I must find the Children of Hybris, and I will do so, whether or not you agree with my methods." The Queen's gaze softened for a moment, though the underlying suspicion remained. "We shall see, Candice. We shall see." The interrogation continued, each question adding another layer to the mystery surrounding Candice's mission, the Children of Hybris, and the prophecy that seemed to bind them all together. With every answer Candice gave, she unknowingly drew herself deeper into a web of fate that she could not escape, and the tension in the High Temple of Nature grew ever more palpable. The High Temple of Nature stood as a testament to the harmony between architecture and nature, its towering columns of living wood winding upward, intertwined with delicate vines. Sunlight filtered through the canopy of leaves above, casting soft, dappled shadows that danced across the stone-like roots below. The air hummed with the tension of deliberation, thick with purpose and the weight of fate. A serene quiet pervaded the space, yet there was an underlying edge of unease, as if something vital and unseen was shifting. Candice stood before the High Elves Council, her posture erect, her demeanor calm, yet inside she was anything but composed. The soft rustling of the leaves and the deep, wise gaze of the council members felt like a spotlight on her, every thought, every hesitation under scrutiny. As the Queen of Elves and the other members of the High Elves Council questioned her, probing her knowledge of the prophecy, the tension was palpable. Candice maintained her composure, but her mind raced with 100 questions, uncertainties swirling like a storm. Behind her, Lucas stood, his thoughts focused not on the council's questions, but on something far more disturbing. The strange sensation he had felt, the fleeting connection that seemed to pulse between him and Candice. It was faint at first, like the merest whisper in his mind, but as the council's interrogation continued, the sensation deepened, and Lucas could sense more than just her thoughts. There was something clouding her mind, something alien, something chaotic. Lucas's heart skipped a beat as his telepathic link to Candice tightened. He reached out to her, not with words, but with his mind, gently pressing forward to connect with the foggy space surrounding her thoughts. It wasn't like anything he had encountered before. The psychic connection he felt was overwhelmed by a presence, foreign and overpowering. It felt alive, but not in the way a mind should feel. It was cold, distant, like a parasite clinging to something far more vital. He pushed further, his anxiety growing as the chaotic foreign presence responded to his telepathy. Not with clarity, but with an overwhelming mental surge that almost knocked him off his feet. It wasn't just a stray thought or an accident of the mind. It was an entity. But not like any entity Lucas had ever sensed before. It was not malevolent, but it was parasitical, like an uninvited guest that refused to leave. The more Lucas focused on it, the more disturbing it became. The presence didn't want to communicate, it simply existed, intruding on Candice's mind with its cold, chaotic energy. Pulling back, Lucas recoiled in shock, trying to regain his bearings. The mental residue of that foreign force lingered, disturbing and unsettling. His pulse quickened as his heart raced. What was it? How was it tied to Candice? And more importantly, what did it mean for her, for him, and for the prophecy they were all bound to? In the midst of the council's probing, Candice paused. The sudden intrusion of Lucas's voice in her mind sent a shockwave of panic through her. She hadn't expected him to reach out like that, especially with the intensity of his words. Candice, there's something attached to you. It's not your thoughts. It feels alien, chaotic. Her breath hitched, and she stumbled internally, though her face remained impassive. She hadn't shared her confusion with anyone, let alone with the council, but she was now faced with a truth she couldn't ignore. Lucas's words hit her like a bolt, forcing her to confront the chaotic presence she had sensed for so long but never fully understood. The memory of a conversation with her mentor, Ceylan, resurfaced, a cryptic warning about unseen forces tied to her mission, forces that could not be controlled or understood easily. Trust your instincts, Candice. The world is full of things that are not as they seem, and there are powers that will seek to use you, or worse, consume you. Candice forced herself to breathe, trying to calm the rising storm in her chest. She couldn't afford to lose control now. Not with the council watching, not with her role in the prophecy hanging in the balance. She steadied her thoughts, reminding herself of her mission. The Children of Hybris had to be found. The Watcher had to be protected. Everything else, every doubt or fear, had to wait. Lucas, sensing her internal struggle, sent another message, his words carefully placed. I'm here, Candice. It's me. Don't panic. It's not harmful. Just breathe. Think about your answer. You can do this. His calm words reverberated through their telepathic link, pulling Candice back from the edge of panic. She nodded imperceptibly, finding comfort in his steady presence, even if only in her mind. The council, watching her intently, noticed the subtle shift in her demeanor. The Queen of Elves, in particular, studied Candice with narrowed eyes, her suspicion growing. Candice could feel the weight of the Queen's gaze, the unspoken questions forming in the air around her. The High Elves knew of the Children of Hybris, but now that she was before them, they were beginning to question whether she, or the mission she carried, could truly be trusted. The atmosphere in the temple shifted again, becoming even more charged. Candice's mind raced, but she refused to let it show. She had no choice but to stand firm. She could not reveal what she had just uncovered, not the presence, not the chaos, not the truth of what was inside her head. If she did, everything could unravel. The prophecy, the children, the Watcher, it all hung by a thread. She cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the council back to her. It was time to answer, and she knew that whatever she said next could change everything. Her loyalty to Ceylan, to her mission, was now at odds with the terrifying reality she had just uncovered. She stood at a crossroads, and the path she would choose would shape not just her future, but the fate of everyone involved in this growing conflict. The presence inside her head, was it the key to understanding the prophecy? Or was it the harbinger of something far worse? She didn't know yet, but she would have to find out soon, or risk everything unraveling. The high temple of nature was bathed in soft beams of sunlight filtering through the leaf canopy, the tranquil setting at odds with the tension that lingered in the air. Candice stood rigid, her heart pounding as the High Elves Council watched her closely. The Queen of Elves remained silent, her piercing green eyes resting on Candice with a look that was both expectant and unnerving. Lucas, standing nearby, reached out telepathically to Candice once more. I need you to focus, his voice resonated in her mind, steady but laced with urgency. That presence in your mind. It's strange, chaotic, and layered. It feels like a commanding force, but there's something darker underneath. It's authoritative, controlling, yet oddly familiar. Does that make sense to you? Candice froze. The description struck her like a bolt of lightning. Commanding, authoritative, familiar. Her mind raced, matching Lucas's words with the one person who had always guided her path. Ceylan. A wave of disbelief surged through her, but she couldn't ignore the uncanny alignment. Could it be that her trusted mentor was somehow tied to the chaotic presence within her? Her breath quickened and her thoughts spiraled as Lucas continued. Whoever or whatever this is, it's entwined with you. I don't know if it's guiding you or controlling you, but it feels He hesitated, searching for the right word. Dangerous. Candice clenched her fists, trying to steady herself. She couldn't confront this now, not in front of the council. Instead, her mind shifted to another realization that had been simmering beneath the surface. The prophecy. The Children of Hybris. Lucas and Mina. It all clicked into place. The pieces she had been struggling to fit together now formed a clear picture. Her mouth moved before her mind could stop it. They're the Children of Hybris. The words echoed through the chamber, silencing the faint murmurs of the council. Candice's eyes widened in horror as she realized she had spoken aloud. Lucas stiffened, his gaze snapping to hers, while Mina, standing quietly nearby, blinked in confusion. The reaction from the council, however, was unexpected. The elder elf leaned back with a knowing expression, exchanging a glance with the others. The Queen of Elves, who had been watching the exchange with quiet intensity, broke into a faint, almost triumphant smile. The air shifted. The suffocating tension that had gripped the chamber melted away, replaced by a calm, almost reverent atmosphere. The Queen's voice, melodic and deliberate, cut through the silence. Indeed, you see it now. The threads of the prophecy begin to weave themselves before our very eyes. Lucas stared at her, his sharp mind catching the subtle implication in her tone. She didn't seem surprised at all. In fact, it was as though she had been waiting for this moment. His suspicion flared. Had she known all along? Had she orchestrated their meeting, guided events to bring them to this point? Candice, still reeling from her realization, found herself equally puzzled. The Queen's composure, her serene acknowledgement, felt too prepared, as if this revelation had been a foregone conclusion. The elder elf's voice broke her thoughts. Lucas and Mina are the Children of Hybris, he declared solemnly. Their fates are entwined with the destiny of these lands. Lucas glanced at Mina, who remained silent but visibly uneasy. He then shifted his gaze back to the Queen. Her expression was calm, almost pleased, as though she were silently validating what the council had just confirmed. Candice's thoughts churned with unanswered questions. How much did the Queen know about the prophecy? Why had she not shared this knowledge earlier? And what did it mean for her role and Lucas and Mina's in the greater scheme? Though the council's confirmation brought a sense of clarity, the lingering mystery of the Queen's foreknowledge hung heavily in the air. For now, neither Lucas nor Candice voiced their suspicions. But the unspoken questions in their eyes promised that the revelations of this day were only the beginning.